Against their onslaught, after a decade of life and death battles against the demons, the Demon Defense Agency emerged. The DDA discovered that there are unique demons called aberrants. They harnessed the demon cores of aberrants to create special weapons called Imperium. Because of that, they were able to fight the demons. With the arrival of Imperiums came defenders and elite DDA soldiers capable of wielding them. Defenders are the backbone that protects humanity from demons, but who protects them? Many helicopters were active in the sky, while Atlas, the DDA defender, was on the run. The police were trying to catch him while he's still running in the alley, wondering how did it end like that. Atlas have been fighting demons for years, so no one would have to endure the pain that he suffered, but that whole time he realized that he was nothing but a pawn for the Demon Defense Agency, so he decided that whatever it takes, even he have to do it alone. He'll find the truth. One of the policemen reports that they lost Atlas, but the other policeman said Atlas couldn't have gone far, so they should keep looking, and they should remember who they're dealing with, so nobody should confront Atlas alone. Then the policemen on the street order the citizens to return to their homes immediately because it's not safe there, to which the citizens are confused. On the other hand, Atlas, who's at the top of the building looking at the cops, thinks first they attack him in the middle of the night, then chase him through the city, so he can't trust the DDA anymore. One of the policemen asks how did Atlas escape, because there is only one way out. But his comrade tells him not to underestimate the power of the shadow swords, because with Imperium Atlas can slip in and out of the shadows. It will then. The policemen ask why they after Atlas, and if isn't he the agency's strongest defender. His comrade responded that Atlas finally succumbed to his Imperium's demonic energy, and that's why he never trusts any defenders, because they all go bad eventually. The policemen ask what he did mean to succumb to Imperium. Suddenly someone walks toward them, and when they look back, they saw Sasha. Sasha is also DDA defender. Then Sasha asks the policeman what are they doing, and if shouldn't they be searching like everyone else. The man responded that he just explaining how Atlas lost his mind and attacked the DDA headquarters, to which Sasha asked if she heard him right. The man said Atlas has more confirmed demon kills than anyone in the history of the DDA, while his comrade was in fear behind him. But the man still said everyone says Atlas was always more of a demon than a man, and it's only a matter of time before his Imperium overwhelmed him. Sasha glared at the man angrily. On the other hand, Atlas, who heard everything, thinks no one would believe him if he told them the truth or where demons really come from. Suddenly Sasha angrily tells the man to shut up and said Atlas risked his life for years to protect that city, and he would never have given into his Imperium. Atlas was shocked. Then Sasha pinned the man to the wall and tells him that he doesn't know anything about Atlas, and he wouldn't have attacked the DDA. If he did, there wouldn't be anything left. Sasha also tells the men that there's something the DDA isn't telling them. Then she let go of the men and walks away angrily, while thinking she just needs to talk to Atlas. The man angrily asks what's the point of defending Atlas when he's been a lost? 'Cause ever since he let his wife die, that made Atlas stun. Then he remembers when they were kids, Rachel was the only one who really understood him. Then the kid named Jason said he was going to be the greatest defender one day, and he have the strongest Imperium, so everyone will respect him just like his dad. Rachel said Jason is predictable and just wants to look cool. Then she asked Atlas what about him, which made little Atlas shocked and responded that he doesn't have one. Rachel said he sure does, because everyone dreams of something, but Atlas shyly said all he wants is to have fun and hang out with them. Jason said it doesn't count, because it has to be something awesome and legendary, but Rachel said she liked it and tells Jason that he was just jealous, and she thinks it's a great dream and that's what she want too. Then they start to walk in high school. The man said it was not their fault he was such a bad defender, and how could he expect to protect people from demons when he couldn't even save himself? But Atlas, who's injured, tell the men that they don't understand anything about Jason's death. The man tells Atlas to give up because it's 3 against 1, but Atlas responded that he's not going to stop until they apologize for what they said. Then he punches the man's face, but the man punched him back. Still he punched back again at home after Atlas knows that Rachel was the only one who took care of him. Rachel tells him that he can't keep getting into a fight because they're going to kick him out of school if he keeps it up. Then she presses the ice at Atlas's face while telling him that she just wants people to see him the same way she does. Atlas responded that it was not his fault because they were making fun of Jason's dad, but Rachel angrily tell him that he can't protect everyone and he should let Jason stand up for his family. Atlas said she and Jason are his family. Then Atlas look at Rachel's shy eyes and lean closer to her, then kiss her. Everything was how it was supposed to be, and he thought he could live in his dream forever, but the reality is never so kind. The monster said Atlas in Rachel's house on fire. A few hours later, policemen and firemen tried to put out the fire while Atlas tried to get off at the police who were holding him because his wife is still inside, but the policeman said it was too late and there was nothing he can do. Atlas kneeled outside their house crying and thinking he should have been there with Rachel, but it's all their fault. Then he angrily thinks of those bastards at the DDA, and he doesn't know why the DDA hiding the origin of demons, but he won't let them get away with it. Then they heard a big explosion at the top of the building. Then Sasha looked back while thinking that power. Then she twirls her weapon while wondering if Atlas was up there that whole time. Then she uses her weapon on the ground to jump toward the building. Then she landed on the top of the building while thinking that Atlas always trying to take on everything by himself, but she have a feeling he'll need her help. She look around, but she can't find him. Then she uses her weapon to jump to another building while thinking wherever Atlas going she'll catch up to him. Meanwhile, in some building, the man who's looking at the window tells the other man that he was sloppy to let Atlas see one of the experiments and he should have known it would take more than Cyrus and Kelly to capture Atlas. Then the man angrily asks how will he rectify the mess he has made. The man angrily apologizes and said he'll kill the Shadow Boy himself and bring him his head, but the man slaps him and asks him if he's stupid because Atlas must be kept alive. Then the man angrily tells him not to let his mistake get in the way of his plan and orders him to bring Atlas to him because is certain that Atlas is the one he has been waiting for. Meanwhile, in the alley, Atlas was running away while calming himself and assuring himself that revenge can wait. He also thinks that whatever happens he has to get out of the city before Sasha and Jason get wrapped up in his situation. Then he saw an open alley, realizing that the bridge will be just up ahead, but when he gets out, many policemen were pointing a gun at him, and the chief said he's wanted for an attack on the DDA headquarters and the murder of defenders Cyrus and Kelly. Atlas angrily clenches his teeth, knowing that he can't afford to waste time there. The chief said he have been corrupted by his Imperium. Then he orders Atlas to come with them willingly and stand trial for his crimes, but Atlas said he's the one who was attacked. The DDA is lying to them, and they're lying to all of them. The chief angrily asks him if he's trying to say he didn't kill Creus and Kelly, so if is truly innocent, then he has nothing to fear and stand down. Atlas was silent for a moment and said it's not so simple, so none of them understand what they're getting themselves into. The chief angrily said if that all he have to say, then they have nothing more to talk about. Atlas activate his Imperium while saying he's not in a good mood, and he promises them that they don't want to get in his way, to which the officers fear and wonders if they're really going to fight against Atlas, but the chief order them to prepare to fire. Atlas closes his eyes and holds his swords tightly while thinking if they refuse to listen, he'll just have to show them. Then he looks at the DDA officers angrily. Flashback, the scientist tells Atlas that he has passed the mental and physical exams without exception, and the higher-ups have instructed him to give him a chance to bond with an Imperium, but he warns him because out of all the youngsters like him who have attempted the experiment, only a few made it. So before he decides that he really want to become a defender, they should make sure that they're on the same page. The scientist also tells him, as they know they had their hands full when the demon first appeared 40 years ago, and they're just beginning to understand their basic features and abilities, but then a totally new type of demon emerged. Then the scientists showed something and explained that those demons have unique identities and their power is on a completely different level, and they called them aberrants. Many agents lost their lives defeating the first aberrant demons. However, their sacrifice led to the DDA's greatest discovery, and it was the demon course. Extracting the core of aberrant demons allowed them to create special weapons called Imperium, and by bonding with those empowered weapons, their most elite soldier finally became an even match for the demons. But it's no exact science. Then the scientists showed 3 different cores while saying defenders use Imperiums to harness the power of aberrant demons, but as his friend Jason knows, they are extremely dangerous tools, so if is not compatible with the Imperium he chooses, it will reject him. Even if he manages to bond with it, the Imperium will constantly try to corrupt him with its demonic energy. The scientist also said the 3 cores he sees there represent the Imperiums that he can choose from in order to become a defender. Then the scientist asks if his shore is ready. Atlas pointed at something and said he'd choose it, but Jason asked him if you want to think it through a little more, because it was such a big decision, the scientist said. Atlas sounded confident, and it's better that he doesn't second-guess himself, but Jason fearfully said, Atlas, choose the Shadow Demon's core, and that's the strongest demon the DDA has ever faced. With an Imperium like that, the chances of eventually becoming corrupted are too high. Then Jason put his hand on Atlas's shoulder, who was looking at the Shadow Demon core, while saying he knows how hard he has worked to get there, but no one who's tried to wield the shadow swords has survived, and he doesn't have to take that risk. But Atlas just smacked his hand away and responded that he won't understand because he has an Imperium, and he already gets to make a difference as a defender. Jason angrily tells him that he knows how important that is to him, but he knows what happened to his father. Also, he brought him into the DDA, and if he gets corrupted like his father, they'll have to kill him, so he shouldn't make him go through that again. Atlas tells Jason that he appreciates everything he has done for him, but that is the only way he can make up for what happened to Rachel. And he has to make sure that nobody else has to suffer like that, so it doesn't matter what happens to him. But Jason said it mattered to him because they're best friend, and if he really has to do it, then he won't stop him. But the moment it seems like the shadow swords are rejecting him, he'll end the experiment. Then the scientists said they should begin the bonding process and ask Atlas to enter the testing room. Atlas looks at worried Jason and enters the room. Inside the room he saw a knife inside the container shining, and he thinks his dream now is to bond with the shadow swords and get revenge on all the demons. Then he closed his eye and said he can do it. Then he grabbed the knife, then release a violet shadow, while the scientist and Jason were quietly looking at Atlas from outside. Then a shadow goes inside him, which made him shout in pain, and corrupted by it, Jason, panicky, tells the scientists to stop the experiment. But the scientist responded that there's nothing they can do, and that it is all up to Atlas because he has to bond with the Imperium. Jason bang at the room door while telling Atlas that he can't lose him too. Then he changes his hand into ice while saying he's coming in. On the other hand, Atlas kneeled on the ground because of the pain, but he remembered Rachel's smile and controlled the shadow sword. Then he stand up while Jason break the door of the room behind him. Then he tells Jason not to worry because some stupid swords aren't going to take him down. That made Jason stunned and shocked. Then Atlas holds the swords confidently while thinking that he won't let anything stand in his way back to the current situation. Atlas jumped toward the officers, realizing that his Imperium is more powerful than usual, and he can feel it. The officers tremble in fear, but the chief ordered them not to let Atlas close the distance and fill him with bullet holes, to which the officers followed and shot Atlas, but Atlas just run forward, avoiding all the bullets, while telling the officers that they're not on the same team anymore, so he won't go easy on them. Then Atlas attacked one of the officers, which made it shock and block it using his gun, but the chief ordered him not to try to block Atlas. Imperium because the shadow swords can phase through any object, but it was too late because Atlas' shadow sword phases through the gun and cut the officer chest. Then Atlas slashed the other officers that made the chief call his men an idiot and said if infantry won't work it's time to bring out the big guns. Then he orders to engage the missiles, while thinking that Atlas might be unstoppable in single combat. But he can't beat his unit with sore words alone. Then one of the officers shouts that the missiles are ready to fire. Atlas said their battle is pointless. Then he asked the chief if do we care so little for the lives of his men, but the chief responded that every one of his agents is happy to put their life on the line to stop monsters like him, and if he hadn't been corrupted by his Imperium, he would understand that Atlas tells him that he's really a fool, but he tells Atlas not to overestimate himself. Then he orders the missile to fire, to which his men did, but Atlas just smiles and realizes that his whole world turned upside down and is fighting against men who just a few hours ago were allies, but for some reason he feels alive. Then he cuts the missile which made it explode. Atlas thinks he has killed demon after demon for years, but he has never felt he had a purpose more than he does now, and he knows that revenge is coming. One of the officers clenches his teeth in anger and orders his comrade not to give Atlas even a moment to rest because they have to stop that monster. Atlas throws his sword while saying they have no idea what he's capable of. The sword hit one of the officers. Then he pulled his sword back at him, which made the chief realize that even Atlas throws his Imperium, he can summon it back to his hands, and he doesn't have any other choice. Then he shouted to send out the twins, which made Atlas wonder. Then something flies toward him and flies past him. Atlas thinks she's fast. Then someone kicks him that throws him away. The twins named Tora and Hina look at him. Then Hina said is lame because she thought they'd finally get to have some fun. Atlas, who's on the ground wondering what the hell was it, then Hina asks him if he's okay. Then she tells the chief that she thought he said Atlas was a worthy opponent and asks if that is actually Atlas, but the chief responded whatever they do, don't kill Atlas, because the president wants him alive, while thinking he didn't want to rely on those crazy twins, but he's under strict orders to stall Atlas until the defenders get there. Tora looks at Hina, to which Hina laughs and said is right, because maybe getting corrupted by his Imperium has weakened his skills, so they'll have to play nice if they're not allowed to break their toy. On the other hand, Atlas realizes that he almost forgot the situation he's in and wonders what would Jason think if he saw the situation. Then he stands hands up and knows that he needs to get out of there before that happens. Then he throws his sword toward Hina, and Hina got cut on the cheek. Then he jumps behind Hina while apologizing for disappointing them, but he doesn't have time to waste playing with them. But Hina just smiled excitedly and jumps while saying that's what she wants. When Atlas going to attack Hina, Tora jumps toward him and attack him, breaking the ground. But when he looks around, Atlas is nowhere to be found. Suddenly Atlas appeared in front of him while saying brute force is useless against him. Then Atlas kicks Tora's face, but he just hit an armor, which made him confused. Then Tora punches him away. Then he landed on the ground confused because he knows that Tora didn't have armor before and wondered how did Tora block his kick so quickly. The chief teasingly said it won't be so easy to defeat the twins because he may have the power of a demon, but the twins are monsters themselves. They were brought up from birth to be killers, not to kill demons, but to kill those who oppose the DDA, and the twins' Imperiums come from the Steel Griffin. Because of their condition, upbringing, and uniquely similar DNA, they developed the ability to bond with the same demon core. Tora can manifest the Steel Griffin's metal feather in strength, while Hina can manifest the Steel Griffin's bestial vision and talons. Hina said seem like her big brother is finally taking Atlas seriously, but she can't let her brother steal all the fun. Then Hina tells Atlas that she hopes he did not disappoint them. Then she jumps toward Atlas, but Atlas thinks he has never heard of those twins before. Then he pointed one of his swords at Tora and the other one at Hina, while realizing that he used to keep his head down and not ask any questions about the DDA. But that's a luxury he can't afford anymore. Atlas knows that he needs to separate the twins because they're annoying. Then Hina attacks him using her sharp claws while he's planning to figure out how the twins' Imperiums work. Hina once again attacks him, to which Atlas feels the pressure coming off at Hina with every strike because Hina was fast, but he knows that he can still keep up. Then he looks back wondering where Tora goes. Taurus swings his weapon toward Atlas, but Atlas just ready his swords to block it, while telling Tora to give his best shot. Then Tora hit Atlas, but he blocks it, to which he realized is that Tora is strong, but he knows that he can handle it, and he just needs to create an opening. Tora attack made him back away a little, and he teasingly asks the twin if that was all they are capable of. Hina gets angry and launched an attack at him while telling him not to be cocky. Fortunately, he leans backward in time to avoid Hina's attack. Then he jumps while wondering if Hina's power just increased. Then he swings his sword toward Hina, but Hina avoided it. Then he angrily raises his sword while telling the twin to get out of his way. But Hina just looked at him angrily, to which made him confused. Suddenly Tora attacked the ground toward Atlas, which made the ground breaks, but Atlas jumped, avoiding it in time. Then he landed on the unbroken ground, realizing that Hina eyes went back to normal. He felt an eruption of demonic power from Tora. Tora jumped toward him, ready to attack. That made him surprised and wonder how Tora closed the distance already. Then Tora attacked him, which made a loud destruction, but once again he avoided it, realizing that Tora's ability is currently different and he would be dead if he took one of those hits head on, as he did earlier. Hina happily runs toward him to attack. Atlas was confused. Then Hina attacked him and cut his cheek, while he finally realized that the twins' Imperiums are linked. On the other hand, the chief who's helping his injured men said, finally, Atlas, who's a corrupted bastard, isn't as strong as he thinks he is, and after he captures him, he'll surely get promoted. Atlas, who had a cut on his face, tells the twins that they're really starting to piss him off. Then he walks toward the twin, asking them why don't they take the fight up a notch too, which Tina asked him back if he is really sure about it, because it looks like he has already bitten off more than he can chew. But Atlas responded he's not really, and he is just bored. Then he asks if wouldn't it be more fun if they end the fight in a single move. The chief shouted to the twins not to listen to Atlas because they have the advantage, so there's no reason to take a risk. But Hina angrily tells him to shut up and said she can handle the situation herself, and his whole unit would be dead if they hadn't saved him, to which made the chief angry and thinks how dare Hina to talk to him like that. Then Hina agrees to Atlas and said she hopes he doesn't die because she thinks she's starting to like him. Atlas knows that those twins are powerful, and normally they might even pose a real threat to him, but he's certain that he can take them down. Then he angrily looks at the twin while thinking that it's time to end the fight. Hina jumps to Tora a hand while asking his brother to give her all the power because she wants to finish the fight herself. Then Tora throws Hina with great force toward Atlas. Then Hina pointed her feet with sharp claws first to land at Atlas, but Atlas just closes his eyes and focuses to his shadow swords while thinking he only going to have a small window to make it work. Then he opens his eyes and throws his swords toward Hina, but Hina just tells him that it isn't going to work on her. Unfortunately, Atlas asks her if she thinks he was aiming at her. Then Atlas's swords fly past her, to which Hina realizes that Atlas was targeting Tora. That whole time Tora was confused and got hit by Atlas' swords, which made Hina called Tora worried. Suddenly Atlas appeared under her and tells her that he doesn't think she has time to worry about Tora. Then Atlas grabs Hina leg and slams her on the ground hard. Hina coughs blood and pain. Then Atlas gathers his power in his hand while telling Hina that once he realized they're sharing the power of their Imperium, all he had to do was target whichever one of them was weak. Then he lifts up Hina and ready his power to finish her while telling her that it's over. Meanwhile, Jason was flying with his ice while telling someone to make sure to take care of all the agents, to which Sasha asked him when Did he get there? But Jason just tell her that he'll handle Atlas himself. Meanwhile, Atlas, who's holding Hina, thinks he's not sure where it's coming from, but he has never felt so much power before. Then he's going to kill Hina using his power, but someone grabs his hand and Jason tells him that he finally found him, to which Atlas stun. Atlas looks back, realizing that he spent too much time with those stupid twins. Then he let go of Hina while Sasha looks at them in silence. The chief asks Jason what is he doing there and orders him not to just stand there. Then Jason frees his Atlas's hand, but Atlas breaks free and move away while asking him if that is how he greets his oldest friend, but Jason responded that he's not here to talk with him. Then he readies his Sharp's block of ice while saying that time has passed, to which made Sasha ask him what is he doing. Jason tells Sasha that there is no need to defend Atlas. Then he put down his hand to attack Atlas while saying that isn't Atlas anymore. The ice flies toward Atlas, but Sasha blocks it, using her weapon to protect Atlas while asking Jason how could he say it when they don't even know what happened. Jason responded that he know exactly what happened and said Atlas is more than those swords, than the man they knew then. He angrily asks Atlas if does he has nothing to say for himself. Atlas patted Sasha's shoulder, to which Sasha look at him in confusion, but Atlas just smile at her. Then Atlas walks forward and said to Jason to say all what he wants, but he did everything for Rachel. Jason responded that it was convenient and asked him if it was worth betraying his friends and everything. The DDA represents Jason also asks if it's worth killing all of those innocent agents. Ben defends society and is not meant to rely on them. Then he punched Atlas using his sharp ice, but Atlas avoided it while Jason asks him how could you let that happen. Jason made a big block of ice while telling Atlas that they're brothers. Then he hit Atlas using it while asking if he still remembers what happened to his father and how badly that hurt him. Jason said everyone always told him that his father was a great man, but it turns out his father wasn't the person they all thought he was. Then he punched Atlas's face, which made Atlas bleed, and said he guessed neither are he and thrown away while Jason asked if you think Rachel would be proud of what he had become. On the other hand, Sasha, who's watching the two of them, realizes that Atlas isn't fighting back and Jason is too blinded by his rage to see it, but it's clear that Atlas hasn't been corrupted. Sasha wonders why Atlas won't trust them, because if he had just told them the truth they would have helped him, but she knows that it's too late because the DDA won't let Atlas go, so she wonders what can she do. Jason launched a punch toward Atlas while angrily asking him if Rachel would even love him anymore after all the blood on his hands. Atlas catches Jason's hand while telling Jason not to go there, because at least he tries to honor Rachel's memory, but he turned on his father the moment the DDA said his father was corrupted. Then he asks Jason if that's all his love is worth. Then he throws Jason away. Jason attacks him using his ice while saying at least he doesn't live in some fantasy and out there in the real world he has to face reality. Sasha realized that the fight was getting bad. Atlas dodges Jason ice while Jason tells him that he is just like his father because he put up a front like his some noble hero, but on the inside all he cares about is himself. Then Jason attacks him continuously. Fortunately, he avoided it while Jason saying no wonder they both got corrupted by his own selfish desires. Suddenly Atlas appeared behind Jason and asks him if that's really what he thinks. Then he slices Jason, but Jason avoided it. Then Jason flips to attack him, but Atlas jumps toward him while telling him that he rather believe in the DDA than his own best friend, which made Jason confused. Atlas kicks Jason in the stomach. Then Jason threw away Atlas, tells him that everything doesn't always fit perfectly into place and sometimes heroes don't wear capes and demons don't have horns and breathe fire, but Jason, who's injured on the ground, tells Atlas not to lecture him. Jason slowly stands up while saying that it's just an excuse he uses to justify doing whatever he wants, and none of that matters anyways. Then he made a giant ice spear to attack Atlas while saying there's only one fate. For defenders who have been corrupted that made Atlas shock, then Sasha hit Jason using her weapon while telling him to stop. Then Jason collapsed on the ground. Then Sasha captured Atlas while Atlas told her that she didn't have to. But Sasha just walked toward him while saying they both acting like babies. Then she slaps Atlas and put a tracker on him. To which Atlas asks her what was the slap, for Sasha responded that it was what he get for being so selfish, and she, no, that is hiding the truth in order to protect them, but clearly he was the one who needs protection. Sasha also said she can make decisions for herself, to which Atlas apologized and tried to say something, but Sasha let go of him while saying she had decided to let him go. Sasha said she don't know what happened, but she won't let the DDA get to him, and she owe him that much, so he need to get out of there before it was too late. Suddenly someone speak, which made Atlas shock. Then a man with other DDA asks what they have there. Then the man walks toward them while telling Sasha that it looks like she was just untying Atlas. His swords move, to which he wonders what's going on with his Imperium because it's felt different and he can hardly control the energy. Then he looks at the man and realizes that because of him Sash is going to get in trouble, but Sasha just looked back at him and tells him not to worry and just follow her lead. Then Sasha tells the man who's their commander named Neil that she's happy he's there and Atlas has actually turned himself in, but Neil asks Sasha if she expects him to believe that after Atlas killed tens of agents. Sasha responded she said it's odd, but she asked what was there to complain about, because as far as she can see that makes their jobs a lot easier. Then she asks Neil to let her take Atlas back to headquarters and he can make Atlas's case to the judge, which made Neil angry. The chief tells Neil not to listen to Sasha because Atlas would never give himself up and he can't be trusted, but Neil tells the chief that a failure like him has no room to speak there. Then Neil tells Sasha that it's indeed a good turn of luck for them defender. However, Atlas will be coming with him because Atlas will be dealt with privately by the president himself, to which Sasha worried and asked him what he means, because every criminal is supposed to be given a public trial, but Neil just tell her that the president's decisions are final. When Sasha tried to say something, Neil dismissed her. Atlas wonders if it's how it's going to end and if all the fighting and all the killing are what for, but he closes his eyes thinking that maybe it's better that way because he's tired. Then he apologizes to Rachel and thinks that at least they got to live their dream for a little while. Then he slowly stands up while asking Neil why he's taking him back to the president when they both know he's not corrupted, and if isn't he just going to kill him anyways. But Neil responded that he's not going to kill him because they have much bigger plans for him. Suddenly his shadow sword releases a powerful aura, to which Atlas wonders why it's happening again. Then the aura comes out of his body, to which Neil gets angry and launched a punch at him while angrily asking him if he thinks he can escape from him. Sasha walked toward him wordly, but the shadow demon's core possessed his whole body and released a powerful power that slowly occupied the place and explode. Atlas, who's floating in the air, wonder what did he just do and why he feels so in control. Then he looks at his feet and realizes that he's floating. On the other hand, Neil angrily asks Atlas where did he go and said he'll find him, to which Atlas wonders if Neil can really not see him, but he decided to fly away thinking that he'll figure out that ability later because he had to move. Then he flies towards Sasha, who's confused knowing that he doesn't know how that ability will last. Then he lands in front of Sasha while telling Sasha that she's right, that he was acting like a child, and he apologizes, but he knows what it's like to lose someone he cares about and he refuses to let that happen again. Then he hugs Sasha while thanking her for everything she have done for him. Then he said goodbye. Sasha tells Atlas to wait, but before she can finish her words Atlas was gone. Neil angrily asks Sasha what Atlas just did do and orders her to tell him where Atlas is gone, but Sasha asks back how would she know where Atlas was, and said, "Surely, wise commander, such as himself would have more information than her." Neil angrily tells her that her axe can't fool him because he knows she's trying to help Atlas, and they should see if she's still so stubborn after meeting with the president, because he's sure that president wants to speak with her. Then you'll walk away, leaving Sasha, hoping that Atlas was okay. Meanwhile, Atlas grabs something and runs toward the forest. While thinking about Jason and Sasha, Atlas promises that he won't let the DDA do whatever they want, and he also promises to figure that out, but currently he doesn't even know what's going on with his own Imperium. Atlas wonder what was that new ability, and when did his body learn to fly. The whole thing feels like a blur, and it was like all the information was just filling in his mind. Then you look at the sky, wondering who's his kidding, and thinks that maybe he should have told them the truth because there was so much going on, so he wondered how he's supposed to put it all together. Then he slaps his face hard, convincing himself that he can do it. Then he walks toward the house while thinking at least Jason and Sasha are safe, and for now he just needs to get to the man's house because he's sure he'll help him. When he's near the house, he can't believe that it's really been 15 years. Then he opens the door and goes inside. While asking if anyone is home, he saw the bed messy and knows that someone's still living there, so he's sure they'll be home soon. Then he goes to the bed while planning to just lie down for a minute, and when he lay down, he just passed out immediately. A few moments later, the man who's holding a big axe and a dead animal walks toward the house. When the man entered the house, he saw Atlas sleeping in his bed. Then he pointed his axe at Atlas's neck while asking who is he, to which Atlas woke up in shock. Then Atlas called the man's uncle Boone and said his name in fear. Boone smiled and asked if he's really Atlas. Then he dropped the dead animal on the ground to hug Atlas happily and said Atlas have really become a man that he hardly recognized him. Then he put down Atlas while saying as much as he loves seeing him again, he know he wouldn't have come there unless there was an emergency, and asked him what was going on. Atlas responded that first he has to tell him that a few years ago he became a DDA defender, and he knows he said, but before he can finish his words, Bun angrily tells him that he told him to stay away from the agency, but instead he became a defender. Bund also said he knew Jason was a lost cause, but he was always the trustworthy one. Atlas apology abundant and said a lot has happened since he left, and he thought he was doing the right thing, but he was wrong, and that's why he's there. Then he said he want to know why Button deserted from the DDA 15 years ago. Button tells him that he doesn't need to know about that because it's more trouble than it's worth. Atlas tells Button is the only one he can turn to in the DDA has set him up, so everyone thinks he has been corrupted, which made Button angrily ask him what deviated to him. Then he tightly hold his axe while saying those DDA bastards taking his best friend wasn't enough for them. Then he tells Atlas that he'll protect him, so he should tell him what happened before they framed him. Atlas responded that it's kind of a long story. Then he said it's happened so quickly that he's not even sure what to make of it, and it all started 2 days ago. He was told to handle an apparent demon attack on the outskirts of the city, but by the time he arrived it was already too late because the wolf demon had caused complete devastation in the area. He cut the demon's feet, cut its legs, and slash it to death. He managed to kill the beast by himself, and he thought that no one had survived the attack, but a girl appeared in front of. She wasn't afraid, and she just wanted to know what happened to her parents, but he couldn't tell her that they had probably died, so they just sat there together. He waited with her until reinforcements arrived, and he thought it would be best if he gave her to the commander Neil. He thought Neil would find her a home, but he should have known something wasn't right. Then he goes to Rachel's tomb and tells Rachel that he met a little girl who reminded him of her because she was so brave and matured for her age, and she wasn't even afraid of him when he was covered in demon blood. Then he tells Rachel that he doesn't know what's happened to him because he just wants to help people, but death follows him everywhere he goes, and lately he feels more like a reaper than a hero. He was visiting Rachel's grave when he felt the presence of a demon, but there was Something different about the aberrant because it didn't feel dangerous, and then he saw a pink towel which made him shocked and realized that it was the little girl. He knew that it wasn't the little girl's fault, but he knew what he had to do. Then he apologized to the little girl, pulled his sword, and cut it in half. Neil walks toward him while saying thank God that he's there. Then he said he killed 2 parents in 2 days, so no wonder they call him the most deadly defender. Atlas asks Neil what happened to the girl from the wolf demon attack, and if did he find her a home. Neil responded that they did find her home and tells Atlas not to worry about it because everything's been taken care of. Then he pulled the pink towel out to show it Boone while saying he knew the DDA was hiding something, but before he could figure anything out, he was attacked in his sleep by 2 defenders. After he escaped, the higher-ups told the entire agency that he was corrupted, so we have been on the run all night, and he was lucky enough to make it there. They were silent for a moment, then Boone happily said he knew it, and everyone thought he was crazy for not trusting the DDA, but he knew it. Then he laughs, while Atlas in the side wondering how he can laugh at a situation like that. Then Boone cleared his throat and said Atlas was right. Then he asked Atlas if he was trying to say that he thinks the DDA is involved with turning humans into demons, and why would they do that? Atlas sits on the bed while saying he doesn't know, but he's certain the demon at Rachel's grave was the same girl he saved during the wolf attack, so he wonders if that means all demons come from humans. Then he tells Boone that he was hoping he might be able to help him. Boone responded that all he can tell him is that the DDA has been using the idea of corrupted defenders to control the agency for decades, and he tried to find an answer, but everywhere he looked led to a dead end, and that's the reason why he disappeared after they killed Jason's father. Then he apologizes to Atlas for not having more information for him, but he said Atlas might be able to start from where he left off. Then Boone said if anyone is corrupt in the DDA, it's definitely Neil, and he knows that Neil spends most of his time at a laboratory created to research Imperiums. He also said he was never able to find a way in, but if Atlas wants an answer to the whole conspiracy, he should go into the laboratory, because whatever the DDA is hiding, he'll find the trail there, to which Atlas is interested. Then Atlas stand up excitedly while saying that they should do it because they'll figure it out together, but Boone tells him to slow down and said he loves him, but he hasn't fought in years. He's an old man, and he can't take on the entire DDA. Then he put his hand on Atlas's shoulder while saying his hip piece now, and his days of fighting demons are over. Suddenly someone said she'll come with him, to which Boone and Atlas were confused, then looked back and saw Sasha the window asking Atlas if he thought she just let him run off into the night like some troubled hero. Sasha said it was her fight too. Meanwhile, in court, the president said he addressed them today with summer news. Last night, the DDA was brutally attacked in the assault. The lives of 24 valiant agents and defenders were lost, so he called the ceremony to honor those men and women who made the ultimate sacrifice for their country, and to remind the world of the dangers that the DDA face a daily basis. Jason, who's listening, wonders how could he have let that happen, and he should have been stronger. The president also said the war against demons rages as fiercely now as it ever has before, but no matter how high the stakes might rise, they must never forget that they're human. With that in mind, he wants to take the time to shine a light on the brave soldiers who were taken from them, but instead of mourning their loss, they should celebrate their life. Then he showed a monitor of Agent Bama, father of 2 beautiful girls and a dedicated member of the DDA for 6 years. Then he called the other dead agents and defenders' names, which made Jason angrily promise that he won't let Atlas get away with it. The president said many of them may have probably heard the rumors already that the culprit behind the attack is none other than the DDA's most trustworthy blade, the man who carried the world on his shoulders, the man named Defender Atlas. However, he does not blame Atlas for the disaster, and it seems that the burden placed on him was simply too great, and he has been corrupted by his own Imperium. One of the DBA asks how can they possibly fight against Atlas. The president confidently said they don't have the luxury to worry about who's to blame, whether by fault or by fate. Actor EST, the die has been cast, and no matter who it is they must face, the DDA will persevere together. They are one and is one they cannot fall. The president's speech made the DDA agents and defenders become energetic. Then, after the meeting, they started to walk out. Jason taps the commander named Hyacinth's shoulder. Hyacinth turns around and asks Jason if there is something wrong. Jason responded that he knows the president is right, but he can't help feeling guilty because Atlas was right in front of him and he wasn't strong enough to stop him. Hyacinth tells him not to be so hard on himself because he did everything he could, and stopping Atlas is a nearly impossible task for a single defender, especially after Sasha betrayed him. Jason clenched his teeth hard in anger and said he don't care how strong Atlas is because he'll make sure he was the one who stops him. Then he asks what is the plan for capturing Atlas because he wants to help. Hyacinth tells him to slow down because patience is a virtue for a reason, and the DDA has to be methodical when dealing with corruption, especially when it's in a person as dangerous as Atlas. The true nature of corruption is still mysterious to them, and all they know is that it's derived from the demon inside of an Imperium, but no two demons are the same because some are driven by greed and others are fueled by rage or lust. Corruption doesn't happen all at once. It's a gradual process that sends a defender down a dark path, and there's no way to tell where it might lead. That mystery is why defenders are trained to forsake their emotions and focus only on their duties, and that's the only guaranteed way to protect themselves from succumbing to the demon's will, and that's why he can't let him be involved with Atlas and Sasha, which made Jason shocked, then shouted that he can't do that to him and that he have to give him chance to redeem himself. But Hyacinth